And good afternoon, folks, and welcome to episode 214 of the Sticks in the Six podcast. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Forbes, here with my co-host, Peter Baracchini. And Peter, we got an exciting show this afternoon. We've got two guests coming on. The producer of the new documentary that's set to release, Tootoo, as well as Jordin Tootoo himself, former NHL. I wouldn't even call him an enforcer. I'd call him a little bit of a pest. He was a pesty player. He could put up the offense as well, but definitely a guy that would play on that physical side of the game as well. So we're excited to get that going. They're going to join us in about 10 minutes here, 15 minutes. But we wanted to jump on a little bit first since we haven't seen you guys in 2 weeks and just talk a little Leafs, talk a little hockey, talk a little Jays Game 7 loss. Which was unfortunate, but hell of a year for the Jays. They were able to make it to Game 7 against the $500 million Dodgers, and it was an exciting run. But how you doing this week, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, it still sucks given the fact that we were up 3-1 at the moment, and then everything just fell down from there. Again, it sucks because it was just right there, and then there was that IKF like inches away from home. There was that Ernie Clement possible game-winning run where we thought Pages and Kike Hernandez were going to collide into each other, and that would be dropped fair. And that would have just brought in the run, and then the whole city would be in jubilation. But instead, it's heartbreak, and it's in the most disappointing fashion, as it always is with Toronto sports teams. And I think that's just the one downside to this all, where no matter how, if you had told me that the Jays would be in the World Series at the beginning of this year, where a lot of question marks about the roster, you didn't know if Vladdy was going to sign long term. There were inconsistencies even leading up to June, July, before they even went on that hot streak. If you had told me that they would be in a World Series, Game 7 against a juggernaut / Goliath type team like the LA Dodgers, I would have laughed in your face. Because I really thought that honestly, the whole entire series, the Jays were the better team. And it's unfortunate that some little lucky plays didn't go our way, which could have. It sucks, but at the same time, I feel like this is something that they will be like, you know what? We got here in a year where expectations where nobody had our back. Next year is going to be different. And I feel like everyone's going to go in the next season with that mindset, and they're going to come out full guns a-blazing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously disappointment is one feeling, but to be disgruntled with the way this season went, I think you're crazy to criticize any player on that team. They made it further than anybody expected. I remember we talked early in the year about what are we going to do with management and all that kind of stuff, and things have worked out.
We kind of owe them a bit of an apology right now.
Absolutely,
not all of it, because some decisions were still kind of like skeptical at the beginning, but maybe we should give them a little bit of credit right now.
Absolutely, but I mean, it's definitely a moment where many in Canada stood still, and it was a historic moment. Vladdy really made a name for himself in the playoffs. Ernie Clement obviously setting an MLB record for most hits in a postseason. And then it's just a hell of a run, and I think anybody who watched the playoffs understands the difference in that, the magnitude, but also the difference in that locker room compared to many other locker rooms. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. A lot of moves need to be made this offseason. Bo Bichette, obviously a free agent as well.
You can't let him walk after that home run, man.
No, and he's made it clear. He's made it clear he wants to stay. So we'll see how that plays out. But of course, we're not here to talk about baseball. We're here to talk some hockey, and it's been a couple weeks. There's been some big storylines around the Maple Leafs. Of course, Easton Cowan, his first career NHL goal. We have Chris Tanev out of the lineup again, and Joseph Woll is returning to the Maple Leafs at some point in the near future. Let's kick it off with the Cowboy, though. Easton Cowan finally gets a legitimate opportunity, and we're seeing the dividends paid. He's added some offense. He knows he needs to be better. He wants to be better, and he continues to progress. Obviously, his first goal of his NHL career was not one of those ones where you don't tell them how it was scored. It was a nice shot, beautiful past the goaltender in Philadelphia as well. And what a way to kick off his NHL goal scoring career. Your thoughts on Easton Cowan's play thus far?
Think that was like a staple Easton Cowan type goal that we've seen in junior hockey, where he makes an impact on the defensive side of the puck. He goes in, he's quickly in transition in the neutral zone, and then he finds that open space in the offensive zone and wires it. That is a whole trademark to Easton Cowan's game, where that's the smarts, the awareness on both sides of the puck really elevate him to being such a dangerous player on the ice. And it was evident on that goal. And where we thought that maybe we'll see how he was going to play out. Maybe he would play like 4 or 5 games, get sent down. Who knows what would happen? But he's already played 9 games with the team, and he's set to play his 10th tonight. So I think if he's already reaching at this point, he's going to stay up here for the long run. He seems like going to be an important player. And the fact that he's finding chemistry everywhere he goes, I feel like. Again, maybe the production wasn't there with Austin Matthews and Matthew Nyes, but they had their chances. They were dangerous in the offensive zone. We saw the chemistry that he had with bottom 6 players like Steven Lorentz and Scott Lawton before Lawton got injured. They were really dynamic. And now we're seeing him elevated again into that second line role where Bobby McMahon hasn't been producing well. Nick Robertson has. He moves up. I know we're going to talk about him a little later. But now Easton Cowan is now that second line left wing as opposed to Bobby McMahon right now. This is an indictment on how well Cowan has answered the call and has basically not necessarily challenged Craig Berube to try and, stay in the lineup, but he's forcing his hand to make a difficult decision. And the fact that Cowan is staying in over Bobby McMahon that has had more experience, McMahon has been cold, Cowan has been hot. And even though he hasn't been as productive, 4 points in 9 games is still pretty decent for a rookie standards right now, but he's just doing everything so well. He's that two-way not agitator, but energetic player that's always hounding pucks. He's doing something that Bobby McMahon isn't right now. That's being consistent. McMahon isn't. And Cowan has elevated his spot up and forced Berube's hand to make a difficult decision right now. So, when I saw the lineup today and I saw Cowan as opposed to McMahon, I'm just like, whew. Cowboys really making it difficult for the coaching staff to take him out of the lineup right now. And with now the way that Nick Robertson is playing, is Bobby McMahon going to be the odd man out along with Kalle Järnkrok from game to game right now? So good on Cowan for doing the little things right and sticking to his game and not changing anything about it. That's why I think he's staying up, and that's why he's succeeding so far.
Yeah, no goals, no assists in the last 8 games for Bobby McMahon, so definitely something that we'll keep a close eye on. But yeah, Cowan's fit in, right? And he's playing that middle 6 role that he definitely needs to play to get into that top 6 spot. But he's fitting in the way that he needs to. He's progressing the way that he needs to. He's developing the way that he needs to, and he's taking he's taking advantage of the opportunities he's getting. And I don't know if you saw it just before we jumped on here, but they released the lines for PP1 and PP2. Cowan's jumped up to PP1 with Matthew Nyes jumping down to PP2. So hopefully getting the power play going as well.
And he's in that bumper spot too. And he's kind of familiar with that bumper spot position, although it was Oliver Bonk in that spot, and he was more on the perimeter with the London Knights. He's familiar with how things could work out, and I think watching Oliver Bonk so much, he could learn a little bit being a little bit dangerous in that spot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Certainly we're getting close to that 15-minute mark here. We talked about getting our guests on here. We're excited about it. It's going to be a great conversation. Before we get them on though, just a quick word from our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Hockey is back, and this season, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, brings you all the speed, skill, and nonstop action you love. DraftKings Sportsbook delivers the unmatched intensity of the NHL right to your fingertips. From player props to the thrill of live in-game betting, every drop of the puck is your shot to win big. And right now, our Leafs are unfortunately the underdogs in most cases. So hopefully that'll change over the next little while here. But new customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets. I use it, I grab my crowns, and so should you. Light the lamp all season long with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. And while we wait here, let's talk about the Tanev injury. Obviously, returning to the lineup for a very short span. Took a hit from Matvey Michkov and was stretchered off the ice. Went to the hospital for precautionary reasons. Everything seems to be okay. He traveled back to Toronto. So is this something that we need to worry about over the next little bit here with two pretty significant injuries early on in the season?
Considering it was back-to-back, and I still don't know what happened in that Nashville game. It looked like it kind of like a shoulder caught him in the chin kind of thing. I don't know. We still don't even know. It was probably just labeled as upper body injury. This one was a little bit more concerning because of the fact that he had to get stretchered off and the fact that he was, again, totally incidental contact with Matvey Michkov. It's one of those instances where he was moving up, Tanev was skating backwards, they didn't see each other, and then bit of a collision, which didn't seem anything, that would warrant a stretcher being pulled out, but it was very serious and he needed to be helped off. So I wonder if it was maybe something with the back, spine, whatever, he couldn't move. Again, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'm not a doctor, but the fact that it's back-to-back injuries right now with Chris Tanev, and this is a workhorse defender that eats rubber for a living, blocking shots, earning minutes at 5-on-5 and the penalty kill. This is a guy you rely on heavily, and if he's going to be out of the lineup again for a good amount of time, you're going to have to probably prioritize not just looking for a right wing at this point, but you're going to have to make a bigger deal and try to get another defender in because you don't know how well or how healthy he's going to be come later on in the season and playoff time, right? That's going to be the big thing. Again, it's still early. It's November, and we shouldn't be having this conversation, but the fact that Tanev has had an injury history and two back-to-back ones where he didn't even finish off a game this time, it's a little bit concerning, I will say. Again, maybe he just aggravated something, maybe from the last injury. I don't know. But the fact that he was able to give that thumbs up on the stretcher, he was released, able to come home with the team, really good sign, but still worrisome because of the fact of his history and the fact that it was back-to-back. I can't see a situation where they can't not necessarily feel confident in his play, but just his health overall, where they have to try and get some depth, or if someone else is able to move up in the lineup for the time being, shelter him a little bit. But again, Tanev McCabe has been an awesome pairing for this team. So difficult spot, difficult decision, but I really am glad that Tanev is okay coming back. And whether it's going to be about a couple games, a week or two, just let him get healthy. So that way, when he does come back, he is going to be able to get back to that form where he's going to be that reliable defensive presence, because we saw how poorly the Maple Leafs were without him in the playoffs. Season this, like the last couple of weeks. So this is going to be another test for them. How long can they play, or how well can they be defensively without him in the lineup for another week or so, give or take, right? So that's where I'm at with Tanev right now.
especially especially being top three in blocks last season. The length of his contract as well. It's going to be something that Leaf fans are definitely going to consider as a worrisome type of issue this early in the season. But we'll see where it plays out. That said, we do want to welcome our guest to the show, Jordin Tootoo. Folks, we are pleased to welcome to the Sticks and the Six podcast the 98th overall pick in 2001 NHL draft by the Nashville Predators. A former Brandon Wheat King, he spent time with the Preds, the Red Wings, the New Jersey Devils, before ending his career with the Chicago Blackhawks in 2016-17. He had 161 points in 723 career regular season games and over 1,000 penalty minutes. A player who patrolled the game and played with heart and soul, the first ever Inuk player in the NHL, Jordin Tootoo. Welcome to the Sticks and the Six podcast. We want to thank you very much for coming on today.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me okay?
And we can hear you great.
Absolutely.
We can hear you great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to kick it off. I mean, we mentioned first Inuk player to make the NHL. It's got to be a great honor, and obviously now you've got the documentary coming out as well. But I got to kick it back when you first realized that this was a possible goal of yours, was to make the NHL. What was the feeling? When did you know that this was even a possibility?
Well, obviously, getting drafted is the first step on your journey, and so being the first to ever get drafted was an honor and something I am very proud of. That being said, obviously the next goal is to make it, and fortunately, 2 years later, I got to crack the Nashville Predators lineup. Obviously, a lot of ducks had to line up and a lot of luck. So, for me, being drafted by Nashville was probably the best case scenario for me personally. And, going to a smaller market team really allowed me personally to be comfortable. And it was almost like being in a country club, right? Our fans, they just wanted entertainment, and the wins and losses, it didn't matter as long as there was a few mitts being dropped on the ice and some big hits, which was right up my alley. I think I really captured the crowd and the fan base since day one.
You just mentioned that, kind of not necessarily showmanship, but the fans wanted something exciting, and you brought that night in, night out with the energy, the physicality. Obviously, with everything that 13-year career, very impressive. You got to play with a lot of great players, especially within Nashville too. You represented Team Canada at the 2003 World Junior Championship as well. I remember watching that tournament just as like an 8-9-year-old kid. So, just overall, Jordin, what for you, looking back on your career, what was the one thing that you remember fondly about those 13 years, or even just at your time in junior with Team Canada as well?
Yeah, I think the journey getting to the NHL for me, I left home at 14 years old and not knowing how much was out there, and it was definitely a culture shock for me, but thankfully I had coaching staffs in Brandon who really took me under their wing. Kelly McCrimmon, who is now the general manager for the Vegas Golden Knights, cared about Jordin Tootoo, the person, and not just the hockey player. And I think it was probably in my third and fourth years of playing with the Brandon Wheat Kings where Krim really instilled the possibilities of, hey, you have a great opportunity here to make it into the NHL. And at that time, I know many hockey fans will know the name Scott Walker, who also played the same style as me. He got promoted and signed a big contract. And so when I came in, it was a perfect opportunity to take his fourth line role as an agitator and an energy guy. And I moved to Nashville at the beginning of August back in 2003 to train and to honestly get away from the life I was living, all the partying and distractions. So I told myself, in order for me to have the best chance to make it, I have to get away from my situation in Winnipeg. And fortunately, the Preds took me on, and I trained hard for a good month and a half. I think I put on almost 15 pounds of muscle. I was jacked and I was ready to go. And right from day one of training camp, I just put my head down and showed up and put in the work.
Jordin, I'm gonna first welcome producer Adam Scorgi to the show as well. Adam, welcome aboard. We will get into the documentary. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to discussing the doc here in a few minutes. But I want to touch on you talked about your role and kind of fitting into that kind of pesky role in the bottom six there. I remember, I forget who it was, but one former player came out and said they could always hear when Jordin Tootoo was coming. It was like a train on the tracks, and you got to take some pride in that, knowing that this is still a conversation that to this day people talk about when they knew that Jordin Tootoo was coming in for a big hit. What was it like being that type of role player?
Yeah, obviously Nashville being new to the game, the Tootoo train whistles were a big hit to the fans, and it almost kind of worked against us, because Trotzy would put me out there to, lay out a few guys. And as soon as I'd step on the ice, every player on the ice knew that I was on there because the fans were blowing all their Tootoo whistles. And, but, I think the biggest thing for me is that I really embraced the whole time I was in Nashville. Like the fans loved, Jordin Tootoo, the person, and obviously my game spoke for itself. And like I said, the game was new in Nashville, and they wanted entertainment, and that was right up my alley.
So, guys, again, we're going to get into the talk about the whole documentary right now. Obviously, this is a question for both of you. Obviously you both worked alongside each other to try and get the vision out for this documentary as well. What are some of the things that you learned about each other going forward and the respective visions that you both had with this documentary that you had in mind?
Well, it's a great question. The thing I learned about Toots is I learned a lot more about their culture and what it's like to actually live in the North, because we went up there 3 times with them, right? My team went for the beluga hunt, they went for the fishing derby, we went for the Terrence Tootoo Memorial Tournament. So you really got to see how barren it is up there. And I really got a proper appreciation of what the land, means, not just to the Inuit, but to the Indigenous. And I think actually Waddy, who's, Jordan's good friend and business manager, who I've become good friends with too, he kind of articulated it better than I could have ever expected going through the process of making this, is that the land to the Indigenous is like their Bible. It's their religious, and that's why a lot of their communities have it's taken longer to bounce back from, being pushed aside and stuff like that and being trampled on by other cultures, because other cultures had their book, they had their religion to kind of fall on during hard times. The Indigenous were removed from theirs, put into other places, right? So that to me was like a perfect perspective to compare just how important the land is to the Indigenous and the Inuit people. So it was, life-changing. I'm not the same person after going up and experiencing this with Jordin, and, not just coming as a tourist. Like, we were with his family, like 3-hour snowmobile ride out into the middle of nowhere, slept on tents for 3 days. Like, and I'm a city guy. That was like, we're talking like this. Oh, I handled this no problem. Like, no, we were scared. Right. Our house that we lived in was in a hockey bag. We were there. I've got a photo on my phone. I looked at it today, and we're like, that's where we're sleeping for 3 days. Like, that's a hockey bag. Like, how's that going to work? We're in the middle of nowhere. So it was really learning that and just what the land means. I think that's probably the biggest part It's just how important it is to the Indigenous people of Canada and North America.
For me, I think the biggest thing is that, Hammy and Adam, really embraced our culture. And I told them before we even started filming, I said, this is only going to work if you guys can come up and make it up to Nunavut, not once, not twice, but it's got to be, multiple trips up there to really grasp it, and their willingness to be open, because hey, let's call a spade here. Producers and directors, they want it a certain way, and when it's kind of out of their lane, they're a little butthurt sometimes. And Hammy and Scorgie, it was a learning curve for them, right? Like it's a different way of life up there, and we don't have everything at our beck and call like we do in the South here. So the challenges of trying to keep your cameras warm in -30, -20, and going out in the middle of nowhere, and making do with what you got. The little things, and their willingness to just embrace it and learn. And like this whole process over the last 4.5, 5 years has, I think, really educated myself and the film crew.
I would agree.
Jordin, how important is it though to have them come out there and kind of share that story, not only your story, but the story of the Indigenous people up north, and what it was like to grow up there? Like, how important is that for you to share with not only the producers of and the staff working on the documentary, but to put this whole documentary together and share your story through that as well?
Yeah, it's essential to live it and breathe it and be present. And I think you can read all about growing up, or the way of life in a textbook, but you cannot really grasp it until you've experienced it personally. And I think that's where my story is it has been being told through their eyes also, right? And having a better understanding of our culture, our traditions, and our way of life. So I commend them for being open and being willing to get out of their comfort zone. A lot of us men especially are set in our old ways, and a lot of times we say, hey, this is who I am, this is what you get, and that's it. And I think in today's day and age, in order to grow and to evolve, you have to get out of your comfort zone and be uncomfortable and learn from those experiences, right? To me, in order for you to grow, you got to be able to accept failure. And I've failed many times in my life, but being in survival mode since day one, growing up in the Arctic, it ain't easy, right? So you have to be mentally strong. And I think that's what allowed me to keep moving forward. Just like being out on the land when we're hunting, we're roamers out there, right? Oh, let's see what's over this esker. Because if you stand still, you're going to freeze your ass off and you're cooked, right? So it's just like in life, right? In order to move, you got to keep one foot in front of the other and keep marching on.
Jordin, you just mentioned that sometimes, we're all stuck in our old ways and everything like that. In the past, when it comes to hockey players too, there's always been the stigma of hockey players not opening about their true feelings and the battles that they face. And you've been very open about that over the years. You're changing that narrative, and that it's not it's not a bad thing, or you shouldn't be afraid to speak out about the struggles that someone's face. Is that what the main purpose of this movie was? And Adam, if you want to comment on this too, how are you able to capture all this emotion that, Jordin was feeling throughout the filming process?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. It was interesting because actually Jordin didn't break down, if you guys got the chance to watch the film, because he's been going through therapy. He's 14 years sober, right? He works on himself all the time and is bettering himself. And this is actually a note we'll give Jen some love here, Jordin, is that when we watched one of the first cuts, she was like, wow, it's so emotional. And all these people are getting emotional, but they're like, Jordin, you're not getting emotional. And Jordin's like, well, I've been through it. I've been dealing with it, right? It's a lot of the other people that haven't been dealing with their feelings, but we came back and we did another shoot. And then, you know, Jen and the director and everybody like, Jordin, we need you to go there. And then Jordin thought about his brother and he gets really emotional in that one scene, right? Because he knew, he's like, it will add if I break down too, right? And show that tough men can be vulnerable and it's okay to ask for help. And I commend you, Jordin. That's something I didn't get to compliment you enough on, is like, because you're not an actor, right? But for you flew into Edmonton, you started thinking about your brother and he got really emotional. And it is a challenge. I've worked with a lot of hockey players, and generally hockey players, as we know, their interviews are very, let's say but like vanilla, right? It's like, there's no I in team and I'm just trying to go out there and give 100%. I think that's one of the things that allured us to Jordin from the beginning, is just his raw honesty, right? It was just, hey, I've been through therapy. I've worked on myself for years. I'm going to say it how it is. I'm going to tell you how I feel. And that's what I think makes it so powerful. It's like, it's raw. We put a warning on it though. Like, I mean, you know, there's swears, we're dealing with suicide. It's real, but that's what I think so many people are loving, is they're like, it isn't one of these polished contemporary, let's follow a team for an outdoor game for 48 hours and see what that is. Like, it's about that pure emotion. I think that's what makes it special. I think that's what's going to, you know, make it long lasting, where people will be talking about it for years and years, is the movie that inspired them to say, I need help, or I was going through the same things, or I can relate. You know, even if you're not from the North, right? You don't have to, we show the, you know, the place where Jordin's from, but every family can connect with that, with the dysfunction and having insecurities and addiction and dysfunction. So it's, I really commend Jordin for being, it's inspiring as a filmmaker. Those are the things that attract us to come into it. Is like, you're really, you're well ready and willing to be that raw and honest. That's healing. That's inspiring. That's the kind of stuff that people think about 3 days after they've watched it.
Yeah, I mean, let's, like I always say, let's call a spade here. You know, a lot of us men, we carry this pride and ego to a really high level. And, you know, especially in my profession, being a hockey player, walking into the dressing room every day, you know, with a smile on your face. You know, guys don't ever air out their laundry, because at the end of the day, you're just a piece of meat, and, you know, you're just a number. And so, you know, this world nowadays is pretty cutthroat. And fortunately for me, you know, I tell people, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, or, you know, how to make your own decisions. You know, we're all going to fail. A lot of us men, we carry a lot of shame and guilt, and we're treading water. You know, I treaded water for almost half my life, you know, and when I sobered up back in 2010, it probably took about 5 years to really come to terms with, you know, all my life experiences, and that's been through therapy. You know, like Scorgie says, I'm still going to therapy, and the older generation, as soon as you say therapy, right away, oh geez, like, are you weak, or, you know, is your marriage good? Like, you know, it's that stigma of therapy is for the weak. And to me, it has allowed me to be a better husband, a better father, a better communicator. So, but also that you know, I needed more, and for me, it's the land, right? For us Indigenous people, it's the land where we feel most comfortable. It's where we heal. It's where we're most connected to our ancestors. So it's different for everybody, right? And hopefully, you know, my documentary, it's not just a hockey doc. It's for all walks of life. Hopefully I can inspire more men to wake up and smell the coffee and be proud of who they are, and to show that their story matters.
I got to follow up with, like, who came to who with this idea of creating the documentary, just out of curiosity?
So essentially, we had, my director came to me, like several people came to me within, it must have been like shortly after Jordin's book released, or it was getting really, kind of word of mouth, because I had like several people like, man, have you heard Jordin's story? Like, Adam, you should really dive into it. And I only knew Jordin from, playing, seeing him like, as a talented hockey player that would crush people, right? So I didn't know much about it. And then my director, Michael Hamilton, who I produced Michael Bisping's doc with, and I did Donovan Bailey's doc with, he was like, hey, I read Tootoo's book. It's incredible. I'd love to do his doc. And I'm like, man, that's like the 10th time this has come up in the last little while. So he wrote something and we presented it to Jordin, and he'd had several people come to him, but he was playing at the time, wanted to win a Stanley Cup. And this message that Hammy wrote, saying that your story is so much more than hockey. It transcends the sport. It can inspire people on all levels, kind of resonated with Jordin. And then he wanted to meet with us. And then we went out there and, we got along great. And then he gave us the caveat. It's like, okay, I think you're my team. You seem like the right guys to go on this adventure, but you have to come and live and really live the way I did before I'll let you. You have to come and experience and do it. And we were all gung-ho and excited because, of course, as filmmakers, you want to do that adventure. But Hammy and I were joking the other day when we actually got there and got off the plane, and then we were in the hotel for a few days. We're like, okay, we can handle this. But then it was about time to go on the land. Oh, you're not a tough guy anymore. When that was hitting us, we're like, are we really going to go out there in the middle of nowhere for 3 hours on a snowmobile and sleep in snow? And we did it. But yeah, we ultimately, came to Jordin, but worked on it as a team. Producers have different ways of doing docs. My way is always, if I'm doing a bio doc, is we partner with the talent, because we're not creating the story, right? We're just capturing it in an entertaining way. So you want the talent to be your partner. They're going to educate you, especially in this one, because we're dealing with a world we don't know, and a lot of, Inuit culture that we had to learn. So you had to have Jordin there every step of the way of like, hey, this is how it works, and this is how you have to explain. So it really was a joint effort once we came together, right? It's a partnership through and through, and now, like a brotherhood and a family connection. But it was us that came. I knew Jordin's story would be special, and me and Hammy were like, we always want to do something special. So we did reach out first, but going in, once we got into it, it was, a family effort. We were essentially partners with the Tootoos to make sure this was correct. Sorry, I'm always long-winded in answers. So if you want the short sound bites, you're not getting it from me.
No,
that's perfect. That's perfect.
That was really perfect. I just have one more question for you guys, for both of you. Well, also for Jordin as well. I know you do a lot of community engagements too, and all the proceeds of this film are going to part of the Indigenash as well, Nashville's Indigenous Arts and Film Festival, where it's going to be premiered there as well. I just want to get both of your takes. How important is it to make the community, or make the Indigenous community, be heard and be felt throughout the world, especially with your story right now, given the fact that you've been a main presence within the community, giving public speaking engagements and all that?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it's this my story is very well known in our communities, and I'm hoping that my documentary will inspire and give hope to our people, to show them that, if you put in the work, although it is hard, and a lot of people don't like doing hard things nowadays. But I encourage men, especially in our communities, to put pen to paper and put a timeline to your life and your life experiences, and start moving forward. And because at the end of the day, it's us as men in our communities that have to lead the way. And when you're unwell, both mentally and physically, because we as Indigenous learn by watching. I grew up watching Dad and all my uncles and community members. So your actions speak louder than your words. We can all talk the talk, but who's willing to walk the walk? And for me, I choose to walk the walk and lead by example. In life, it's all about choices.
Well, guys, I want to first off say thank you very much for both of you coming on and joining us today. For those who are looking to see the documentary, it is on Super Channel Fuse. It premiered October 24th. So check out Tootoo. You'll see Adam's fantastic work. You'll see lots to do with Jordin's story, where he grew up. I also want to applaud you, first of all, Jordin, on your sobriety and for how long it's been. And I'll say too, we're a big advocate on this podcast for mental health. And,
Yes.
and I myself, my daughter was born 6 weeks early, and I've been doing therapy ever since she was born. So 3 years now. I'm going on 3 years of therapy as well to work through some of my struggles. And I appreciate everything that you guys have done to kind of raise awareness and talk about your story and how it's tied back to, you know, your Indigenous background and you know where how the people use the earth to kind of you know, figure out their path. And we appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for your time. I know we went a little over.
My pleasure.
Over. Thanks for having us on, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much,
coming on,
guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Well, as we mentioned, that was a great conversation,
Great
and I
combo.
always,
Yeah.
you know, great questions as well, digging into you know, the history and what it all involves, and you know, the Indigenous background, and you know, how his people use the earth for their path, and I think it's so important to open that door to that conversation.
Yes.
You and I both have talked about it in the past, even, you know, when we had. You know, when we were a trio as well, we had Alex on, and he talked a lot about his mental health as well, and it's something that we advocate for at this podcast. So we appreciate both Adam and Jordin coming on and talking to us today. Before we get back into more of our show to close it out, just want to have a quick word from our new sponsors over at Rakuten. The holidays are here, and that means it's the most wonderful time of the year to save with Rakuten. Use Rakuten to stack cash back at your favorite stores on top of holiday sales. That's savings on savings. With Rakuten, you can get cash back on gifts for everyone on your list, from toys for kids to kitchen gear for the person who loves to cook, to electronics for everyone. You can even save on something for yourself. Just shop the stores you love, and cash back is automatically added to your account, and you can choose to get paid via Interact e-Transfer, PayPal, or check. Join for free today and get a new member bonus after minimum qualifying purchases. Just go to Rakuten.ca, download the app, and install the browser extension. That's RAKUTEN. Terms and conditions do apply. Some of the stores you can use this at are Adidas, Expedia, Lenovo, and for you people with kids or the folks that love to collect it themselves, Lego. Check out Rakuten.ca today. I don't know if you wanted to touch on anything from that interview. I thought it was great. Definitely check out the Super Channel,
Yes.
and definitely check out the documentary. It's well worth your time.
The eye-opening experience that he brought, where obviously Adam wanted to capture all the raw, in-depth emotion with everything, but just as he mentioned too, when I asked him about the one thing that they learned from each other, the fact that how hard it is to go out into the open wilderness and be a part of that land and go through that experience that he did, along with Jordin as well. So the fact that there was that whole give and take where it was just absolutely amazing to see and hear. There were a couple of other questions that I was going to ask, but they had already answered it in terms of, like, you know, just the overall rawness with the battles and everything that Jordin overcame as well. And even there was one bit at one scene where Jordin is saying, you know, there's a line where it says, having the violence and abuse play in your mind and transforming it into rage on the ice. That alone really hit home, and that kind of set the tone for how everything is going to progress in terms of, like, the emotion and everything like that. So that again, the fact that they were very candid and open about their experiences, Adam following Jordin and Jordin opening up about his, you know, past and ability with, or, you know, getting sober with his sobriety, overcoming his struggles and not being afraid to talk about it. That's the one thing that really stood out for me too. Like I mentioned, you know, there's been this stigma for years where hockey players is kind of taboo to come out and share your feelings or get the help that you need. It's a little bit better right now, but there's still this whole thing around it where there really shouldn't be that. And Jordin is basically the main focal figure in terms of not being afraid about your passing coming out with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will say too, I think we could have talked for like an hour with these guys on just the documentary on Jordin's career, making it, getting drafted, putting in the work. Like there was just so much to touch on. And shout out to Randy. Randy always tunes in. He did have a question for Jordin, and Randy, obviously we had limited time, so we would normally I want to be transparent. We would definitely ask that, and hopefully, now that we've had him on, we can get Jordin on again to maybe talk more about his career, and that's certainly a question that we'll ask. But great question. Shout out to Stu Sinclair as well for tuning in. Appreciate it. It was great to have a guy like Jordin on to open up and discuss his, being of the land and the work that he's put in over the last many years. So. Anyways, guys, we're gonna close it out here with a little bit more Leaf talk before we finish it off. Just very briefly, obviously Woll's back. We should discuss that. There's not really much to discuss about Joseph Woll yet.
Still not a whole lot of info's out about it.
Yeah, he's back with the team, but there's not much more going on. So we'll kind of jump over that. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is Nick Robertson on the top line. He's getting an opportunity, and he's excelling with it.
Going into the season, we've always talked about Nick Robertson in preseason form, how he's always dominant, how he looks like he's ready to battle, ready to take a spot or keep his spot or elevate his play in the lineup, and he really didn't, especially last year. This season right now, it kind of felt like that in the preseason as well. He looked good a couple games, fell off. Now, the fact that they need someone to elevate into the lineup, he's kind of showing that. And I feel like this is the Nick Robertson that we've all wanted to see for a long time, because I wrote a piece about how he's running away with this opportunity right now. And the fact that he had 1 assist in 7 games, but then 5 points in 4 games after that. And this is when he started to elevate his role a little bit more. In the last 2 games, he was on the top line. And him, Austin Matthews, and Matthew Nyes, they're doing a whole lot of damage right now. And I know Nick Robertson is more of not necessarily a playmaker like Mitch Marner, but he's more of a shoot first. It kind of takes a little bit of pressure off Austin Matthews sometimes too, because I feel like it's always on him to score a goal. We know Matthew Nyes is going to get those greasy goals, but having another shooter there, I think, is going to help Austin elevate his playmaking. I mean, we know he's a good playmaker, but the fact that he has another shooter to kind of relate to that, I think will open a lot of doors. And again, the one thing that I hold against Nick Robertson too is sometimes he gets a little complacent and the consistency is gone. The fact that you have Berube applauding your play right now, the fact that it's your effort that's leading to you getting this opportunity and these minutes, it's something that he needs to take with it, and he can't lose sight of that, because again, for the longest time, we've been hoping Nick Robertson in a top 6 spot. He's getting that right now. Some games he's looked good, some games he's looked bad. This is the one time where back-to-back games he has looked phenomenal, and hopefully this can continue against the Pittsburgh Penguins, against other teams in the future, because he has the speed, he has the energy, he has the ability to battle. It's just the off-the-puck awareness and decision-making sometimes. That's what gets him into trouble. So hopefully that's a good sign, but we're seeing that defensive game develop. And hopefully right now, Nick Robertson on the top line is going to be a little bit more of a thing than just 2 or 3 games.
Well, we talked about it early in the episode. Bobby McMahon, obviously 0 points in the last 8 games. He could be the odd man out with Nick Robertson finally taking a spot on the top line, getting consistency. Confidence is a crazy thing when you're playing like that. So it'll be interesting to see where that takes him. He's got one hell of a shot, so it's gonna be fun to watch and see if he can progress and develop on that top line with some NHL caliber players. Remember, this kid's only 24 years old, so he's got a lot of opportunity ahead of him. Anyways.
I think there should be more talk about trading David Kampf fully right now than there is Nick Robertson.
Yeah, David Kampf's another story. He doesn't even want to be there anymore. Like, and I get it.
It's a messy situation. Not necessarily a messy situation, because I know he was further down the depth chart, but it's still an ugly situation given how lost his spot, hasn't reported or played a game with the Marlies right now.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. Randy, thank you. Great interview. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.
Gary, great interview and great episode. Good to see Jordan's in a healthy spot. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see what he's been able to do and progress through his route. Anyways, I will say again, make sure you check out Rakuten, No Name Hockey as well. It's the time of year to get hockey sticks. Go to No Name Hockey. Use the link in the description below the episode to get a discounted price on custom made hockey sticks as well as BioSteel. There's a discount code below as well for 20% off your order online for BioSteel. As always, check out the Hockey Podcast Network. And lots of great hockey shows coming up. We were fortunate enough today to get Jordan and Adam on, so we really appreciate their time.
Absolutely.
And outside of that, Peter, we'll be doing this all again next week, and we'll talk some more hockey. We'll talk some more Maple Leafs. Until then, we'll leave you with our good friend Alex Hobson and his hit single, 25.